Today on the Bandrew Says podcast, we're going to talk about YouTube going down for a few hours, Apple apologizing for people being stupid idiots, and a whole lot more, so go ahead and stick around. Boo! Greetings, Earthlings. Welcome back to episode 141 of the BSP. My name is Bandrew. This is what I says. Like always, down below there are timestamps of everything that I talk about, so you can skip around if you want to save a couple of minutes. But if you got the time, I would suggest listening to the entire dang episode. Two personal things up top. First, I finally got around to launching findtherightmic.com. And this is a website and a video project that I've been working on for maybe a month or a month and a half. It is essentially a flow chart to help people go through the decision-making process in finding the right microphone. And at the conclusion, it says this is the type of microphone you should get. Then beneath the flow chart in the video, there are a bunch of suggestions under each of the different categories for dynamic condenser, shotgun lav, and then there's interfaces as well. So if you're looking for a new microphone, your first microphone, or to upgrade your microphone, check out findtherightmic.com. Secondly, I added memberships to the Podcastage YouTube channel. This is something that I have been on the fence about for probably 2 years in terms of monetizing my channel and allowing people to contribute to the channel. Always something that I have struggled with, but I finally came around and said, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and give it a shot. If I hate it, if people don't like it, if people think it's me being shady, I can cancel it always. But I thought I would give it a shot. So if you've gotten any value out of the Podcastage YouTube channel, or you really like the podcast and want to contribute to the podcast, you can go become a member of the Podcastage YouTube channel, youtube.com/podcastage, and I will go ahead and throw a link in the description and show notes that will take you to a website where you can become a member directly. Now let's go ahead and jump into the news, and the first thing that I want to talk about is the biggest story in my world. It is that YouTube went down this last week. It went down for over 1 hour on October 16th, 2018. It was fixed relatively quickly, but just a side note, just to brag to myself, I was one of the first people tweeting about it going down. But The Verge didn't quote me. No, they had to go and quote MKBHD. But it went down for over an hour. It was fixed quickly, but no reason for the outage was given. So because of that, you know exactly where we need to go to solve this problem. Welcome to the Conspiracy Corner. I'm going to start by asking you guys a question. Do you remember a couple of weeks ago when I was talking about those Chinese spy chips, but nobody knew exactly what kind of code was input into the system that they were installed in? Assuming that they do actually exist and they aren't just some kind of conspiracy or misreporting. Nobody knew. What if those spy chips were not intended to spy on citizens and hoover up all sorts of data, but rather they were put in place to be a kill switch for Google services because we rely on them so much and cause a loss of faith in Google? Or what if the outage was due to Google finding that the article was correct and these spy chips existed in the Google servers, and Google said, oh my God, we got to fix this quickly. So they pulled all the servers that had these spy chips in them and replaced them. What if that's the case? But that's my entire conspiracy. There's nothing there, but it's fun to think about, right? Okay, and that is it for the YouTube outage news. Next, we got YouTube adding subscription buttons to embedded video players. Now, for videos that are embedded on external websites, now if you hover over the channel icon in the left corner of the video, it's going to offer a very easy way to subscribe to the channel that the video is from. Now, my initial thought is, hey, the more places that you can subscribe to a channel, the better. It makes it easier for people to say, I like this content, I want more of it. But the only way that this new feature would work is if you are constantly signed in to your Google account at the browser level. If you're not signed in at the browser level, or you don't have cookies enabled, or you use the incognito mode, this feature is not going to be available for you. So this is kind of a motivating factor to get people to stay signed into their Google account and give Google more and more information about them and allow Google to track them across as many different sites as possible. But as a creator, I think it's really cool. Thanks a lot, Google. I appreciate you giving people the opportunity to be tracked by you. Good job. Next story. I'm sorry. I know I'm coming across as a complete crazy person this week, but hey, why not? Next, YouTube is going to be releasing Logan Paul's movie, The Thinning: New World Order. Now, if you guys remember, a few months ago, earlier in 2018, Logan Paul got into a lot of trouble because he went ahead and went over to the suicide forest in Japan. Surprise, surprise, he found somebody who had committed suicide, filmed the body, made jokes. I'm not going to fault him for making jokes because a lot of people, when they're in very uncomfortable situations, don't know how to cope with it. They will make dumb jokes or react in very bizarre ways. So I'm not faulting him for that. I am faulting him for filming the video in the suicide forest, filming this guy who had committed suicide, and then taking a screenshot of the dead body and putting it in his thumbnail. He got in a lot of trouble. People got very pissed, and rightfully so. Following that, he did get temporarily suspended from the premium ads service, so he wasn't able to get certain types of ads, or he wasn't able to get as high of CPM rates, and his show, or his movie, temporarily got suspended. Now, since this is getting released now, it does seem like less of a punishment for Logan Paul and more like a marketing strategy. Now, what I mean by that is, if this was released right after the Suicide Forest debacle, a lot of people would be really pissed off at Logan still and just wouldn't watch the movie. Now, since they've delayed it, a lot of people have probably forgotten or forgiven, and they're going to watch the movie. So that's why I think this is a lot less of a punishment for somebody being a terrible content creator and having a huge mistake, and more of just, let's make sure we can recoup the money that we invested in this. Now, the entire reason that I'm bringing this up is because of PewDiePie. PewDiePie had a similar situation where he made a very off-color joke where he paid a couple of guys on Fiverr to hold up a sign that says, "Kill all the Jews," something along those lines. Now, that joke, not funny. Not a funny joke, very tasteless, and the entire joke premise is shock. Oh, look how shocking this is. Is it funny? It's really not. But after that, YouTube said, okay, we're not going to release Scare PewDiePie Season 2, which has been completed, and it's ready for release, but because of this controversy, we're not going to put it out. Now, do I think both of these shows should have been canceled, or this movie and the show should have been canceled? No. But I do think that YouTube should treat creators equally. They shouldn't say, oh, you know what, we really like Logan Paul. Let's go ahead and just delay this so people can forget the big misstep he had. And then on the other hand, oh, we don't like PewDiePie at all. This is an excuse to distance ourselves from him and not have anything to do with him. We'll just cancel that show and never release it. Currently, what YouTube's actions are telling us or showing us is that they care a lot less about a complete disregard and disrespect for human life and mental health, and they care significantly more about punishing people for really bad jokes. Cool. Very cool, YouTube. Very cool. That's the end of that. I got nothing else to say, and I feel like I'm going to piss people off by talking about it. Let's jump to some Apple news. Apple's original shows are going to be free. What? How crazy is that? Let's go a little bit deeper. Over the last year, I have been talking about a bunch of shows that Apple has greenlit, but it has been very unclear how they were going to distribute those shows. Well, it just came out that this content is going to be free for anybody who owns Apple devices like an iPhone, an iPad, or an Apple TV. The shows are going to be hosted in the Apple TV app alongside the add-on subscriptions for services like HBO Now, Stars, etc. When I read this, I was like, oh, it all makes so much sense now. Let me elaborate there. It would be very difficult for Apple to justify to anybody, hey, you should give us another $10 a month, because everybody is so sick and tired of all these subscription services. We're sick of them. We don't want to give anybody else another $10 a month. It's getting out of hand. Now, the way that they are approaching it is let's go ahead and motivate people to open up this app and then push these subscription services on them. The justification for them is in March of 2018, that quarter, their services revenue exceeded $9 billion, I believe. That's a lot of money. And whenever somebody subscribes to an app or a service through the Apple Store or through their iTunes Store, Apple gets a percentage of that. I think it's around 30%. So by putting these videos, these free shows, in the Apple TV app, they're saying, hey, open this app. We got some really good free content. Hopefully it's good, but we got this free content. We got your eyeballs here. Now look over here. Here's some stuff that you know. You can see Silicon Valley and Game of Thrones. It's just $10 a month or $15 a month. And then from that, they may be getting $5 every time somebody subscribes. So here, they are not viewing this content as a direct revenue stream. They are viewing it as a way to potentially grow other subscriptions and grow their service revenue. I think that's really smart, and I hope that this content that they've spent $1 billion on, or will have spent $1 billion on, ends up being really good, and I think this will create more ecosystem lock-in, because if the shows are good, guess what? If you want to watch it, you got to get an Apple device. Really smart of them. Next, we got an Apple iPad event set for October 30th. Apple sent out a bunch of invites for an October 30th event, which will be at 10 p.m. EDT. Now, I'm not going to talk about any rumors, but it was recently announced that there will be a full version of Photoshop coming to the iPad. That's really good news. So I'm not going to put out rumors. I'm not going to talk about rumors, but I will speculate that maybe we will see more full-featured video and audio editing software coming to the iPad, because there are some rumors about changes in ports and functionality, but we will have to wait and see. I haven't said that in a while. I can't wait for this event. I also hope we get new computers. I am waiting for an update to the Mac Mini. I love my Mac Mini so much. Please give us an updated version that's more pro. I want that Mac Mini back. Next, we got Apple apologizing for a phishing attack. This is the story I was talking about, Apple apologizing for people being stupid. A number of users in China were phished, and people made purchases with their accounts. Apple then came out and said, "We are deeply apologetic about the inconvenience caused to our customers by these phishing scams." Now, when I read this, I just thought, you know what? Apple should have just came out and said, hey, we're really sorry that you're really stupid and you fell for this phishing attack and you didn't have two-factor authentication turned on. You dopey idiots. They might as well have just said that, because that's how I read it. And Apple, grow a pair of balls and say that next time. I would love to see you just say, hey, you're the dopes who didn't have 2FA turned on. You're the dopes who don't understand what a phishing attack is. Get it right, dopes. Please do that. Now let's jump to some Twitter news. Twitter is going to publicly shame you if your tweet is removed for violating Twitter's rules. If one of your tweets gets reported and it is found to violate rules, and then Twitter says, hey, we're going to go ahead and take this tweet down, there will be a banner where that tweet used to be that says, this tweet is no longer available because it violated the Twitter rules. You may be thinking, big deal. I'll go ahead and delete the tweet and that will go away. Well, you would be wrong. You cannot do that. That banner will stay there for 14 days. So Twitter is essentially letting people know that they think you're a monster for a 2-week period, and everybody can see it. Everybody can judge you and say, I'm not going to listen to this person anymore because they violate Twitter's rules. Let's judge them. Let's publicly shame them. It's hilarious. It's a savage thing to do. Why did I just say savage? My God, I hate myself today. Then Jack Dorsey came out and said, we can only stand for freedom of expression if people feel safe to express themselves in the first place. Now, I do agree with this sentiment somewhat, but this policy would be tremendously easy to abuse. I came up with a couple of examples to illustrate this. I don't feel safe when someone suggests that capitalism is bad because that's undermining the U.S. economy and it's going to cause a recession. That's one example. That's possible. Somebody could say that. There are a lot of dopes out there. I don't feel safe when people say the SM7B is not the best microphone because they're threatening my identity. I know it's ridiculous. I agree. I feel stupid for saying that. But if they are going with that policy, I could make an argument I don't feel safe because people are attacking the SM7B, and I put so much value or so much of my identity relies on the SM7B, and it's making an unsafe environment for me to interact in. This person needs to be banned and reported. But I do think I should point out the reason I do agree with this sentiment, and it's because we should be able to voice our opinions and not be judged and not have our careers ruined as long as our opinions and our ideas aren't directly advocating or calling for violence. But as we've seen on Twitter and all sorts of social media, people with certain political leanings and political ideas tend to get attacked quite a bit more. So if Twitter does do what Jack Dorsey says they're going to do and really focus on making it a safe space, Twitter sure as hell better be implementing this equally on both sides of the aisle for both liberal and conservatives, because I've seen liberals attack conservatives and be very hateful and very aggressive, and I've seen conservatives be very hateful and very aggressive and very vitriolic towards liberals. So if you are going to implement any kind of policy, you need to do it equally if you want to be a good platform to use. That is the only piece of Twitter news. Now let's jump to security news, and we got one story here as well. It's from the TSA. Ooh, this is going to be a fun one. The TSA plans to use facial recognition for domestic flights. Now, the TSA had been using facial recognition for people leaving the country and entering the country. But now they're going to be rolling out facial recognition for all U.S. citizens traveling domestically, going from California to Chicago, going from Dallas, Texas to New York. You're going to be tracked. You're going to have your facial recognition run at the airport by TSA. Now, the TSA did come out and say that they are doing it so we can reduce the need for physical documents. Now, the way I read that is, they just want to help out the traveler. They want to make it easier on the traveler, or at least that's the way they're presenting it. Guess what? If you let us do facial recognition, you won't need to pull out your ID. Won't that be so convenient? I love it when companies spend billions of dollars to make my experience just a tad easier. I love when companies do that because it happens so frequently. Oh, you know how you don't like doing that one task and it takes 5 seconds? Let me go ahead and invest billions of dollars to save those 5 seconds. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do that. No, that is not how it works. That's not how it works. This is insane. It's insane that the TSA is saying, yeah, we're going to do it just to eliminate the idea that you need your physical passport and ID. And it's just to make it easier. That's insane. I honestly don't know why I'm outraged by this or why I even fight the idea anymore. We're already screwed. Our government IDs are probably already put in a database. Hang on, we should go over here. Let's go over here. Our government IDs are probably already put in a database and have facial recognition run on them. Then the government already probably tracks travel history and has reports sent to them by these airlines and train stations and bus stations to the government so they know exactly where you're going. And then the cameras at the airports and all these ports probably have the ability to have facial recognition run on them. So why am I even fighting this? It will save me 5 seconds. So sure, let's go ahead and accept it. Why don't we all just bend over and accept the long dick of the zero privacy era? Because that's where we're at. Why am I fighting it? We're already completely and utterly f***ed. I'm sorry. Next piece of news from Facebook. Facebook is launching... Jesus Christ. I can't believe how nuts I am today. Facebook portal announced. The portal is going to be very similar to the Amazon Show or the Amazon Echo Show. It's essentially a tablet with better speakers and a webcam. The device is going to let you call other portal members or portal users or any users on Facebook Messenger that have video calling or phone calling enabled. Now, you are also going to be able to stream music from Spotify, Pandora, and stream content from Facebook Watch. But oddly enough, Facebook is not going to let you browse Facebook with these Facebook portals. I don't understand the logic there, but hey, whatever, dude. Facebook also came out and said, hey, we attempted to build privacy into this device from the ground up. Cool. But they also said, this thing has a wide-angle camera that has the ability to identify your body in the frame and track you around the room. We're going to track you around the room with this, but to be safe, it does have a plastic webcam cover, which, for a side note, I do think that's an amazing feature that I think every webcam should come with, and every phone should have a kill switch for the camera or a way to cover up the camera very easily, but devices don't have that. I do actually really like that. But talking about the versions, there are two. There is a 10-inch model, which costs $200. It has a 720p screen and 2 speakers on it. And then there is a 15.6-inch model, which actually looks really, really nice. And I hope Apple does something like this. And it costs $350, a 1080p screen, 2 louder speakers, a subwoofer, and a rotating screen for landscape or portrait mode. That's it. Facebook is going to be in your house even more and know even more about you. They will follow you around the room. Why did I say that so weird? They will follow you around the room with their webcam tracking tools. Next story. And this story is that the Pixel 3s were announced, but I am not going to cover any of that information because there are plenty of people online who have covered the Pixel 3s, reviewed the Pixel 3s, and done a much better job than I could. But they did announce a feature at this event that I think is really, really cool. And it is spam call screening from the Google Assistant. What this does is if you get a call from an unknown number, it will have the typical ignore this call button, which I think most phones have, but it will also have screen this call. When you hit screen this call, your Google Assistant will answer the phone for you and say, this is an answering service for person X. What do you want? Something like that. And then it will transcribe what the person responds with and type that out for you to see. And you can decide, oh, this is actually important. It's my doctor. It's my insurance agent. I will answer it. Or you can say, okay, just hang up on the person, which I love. How bad would you feel if you get hung up on by a robot? I get being hung up on by a person. That happens all the time. But if a robot's like, okay, bye. Right in the middle of your sentence, that's got to hurt a little bit more. Now, MKBHD did a review of this phone, and he talked about this service a little bit, and he raised a very good point. The Google Assistant sounds very automated. It still sounds like a robotic voice, and it does say, this is the Google Assistant answering for person X. And what he found is whenever it was one of his friends calling, they would just assume that it was his answering machine and just hang up. But also, people would treat it like an answering machine, but it doesn't save a transcript of the actual conversation it has, so that information is completely lost. My thought there right now is, hey, maybe they just can't keep a copy of it because it's not actually asking for consent to record. And depending on where the person is, that may or may not be thought of as a recording. And there are two-party consent states where both people have to consent to being recorded. So I think that may be an issue with why they are not allowing a record to be saved, but maybe they will roll that out in the future. Maybe they just didn't think about it. But I think that's a really cool feature, and I want it on all phones because I am getting more and more political calls, more and more spam calls. I'm just not answering my phone anymore unless it's one of 3 people. Everybody else, I just ignore. I don't know. Now let's jump to my favorite part of the podcast, the Ask Bandrew segment. All right, guys, if you got any questions, go ahead and send them to askbandrew@gmail.com, and I may answer them on an upcoming episode of the podcast. First question comes from Renzo. He says, hi, my name is Renzo. I watch a lot of your video reviews. I have a G-Track Pro, and I don't know what is the correct level to record. Currently, I put the volume about 45, but when I record my voice, it gives me low volume without static noise. I tried normalizing it, but I got static noise. In your video, when you made a review of the G-Track Pro, it sounds perfect without noises and a good volume level. How do you do that? Could you share in a video? I'm sure I'm not the only person that is having the doubt, and we'll appreciate it. Regards, Renzo. Renzo, thank you for the email. Good question. I did a test I'll talk about it. I tried to recreate the issue that you're having on my Windows 10 PC, and I couldn't do it. I recorded my audio example of that in the G-Track Pro connected directly to my Windows 10 PC, and here it is. Okay, right now I have the Samson G-Track Pro connected to my Windows 10 PC, and I'm speaking into the microphone about maybe 6 inches away. I have it set on the cardioid mode. My microphone's gain is set at around 45%, and I have it set on the mono mode with the instrument volume set at 0%, and then headphone volume doesn't matter. On the computer, in the levels tab of the microphone properties, I have that set to 0 decibels, so I am not doing any kind of boosting to it. And when I checked the playback, it sounded pretty good. It didn't seem to have any overwhelming underlying hiss, just the standard USB microphone sound, and I don't know what would be causing the issue for you. But this is how I have it set up, and this is how it sounds. So as far as making an entire tutorial on this topic, I don't think I'm going to, because I have not heard any other complaints about this. I have heard issues with Windows 10 and USB microphones and Windows 10 and audio in general, because Windows 10 kind of sucks for audio, but I don't think that justifies an entire video. I just tried to recreate it and I can't do it. So if I can't recreate it, I don't know what the problem actually is, and I can't solve it. But as far as the issue that you're having, maybe you have a faulty unit, maybe you have some bad drivers on your computer, but if you're setting up the microphone the same way I did in that clip, you shouldn't be having any problems. And also, I should note, I didn't do any post-processing on that clip. I probably just boosted it in post, so it's level matched to the rest of the podcast, but I'm not running it through any other processing whatsoever. Now, let's jump to the next email. Comes from Katie. From your comments on BSP-138, I gather that you aren't a fan of Facebook and Instagram. In your opinion, what is the safest and which is the best social media forums? Great question, Katie. Thank you very much. And the answer is none of them. None of them at all. To be more fair, though, it really does depend on what your definition of safest or best is. It's going to vary from person to person and what your idea of being safe is and what your idea of a good experience is. Do you mean what's the safest from harassment, the safest from data collection, or the safest from getting fed false information and absurdist content? I don't know. But Facebook, they're going to collect all your data. They're going to buy data from data brokers to create profiles on you and market to you and know exactly how to manipulate you. And every conversation that you have is likely going to devolve into some kind of political screaming match. Twitter, they're going to collect all sorts of data about you, buy it from data brokers, create profiles on you to know how to manipulate you, and then hide behind the facade that we want to make a safe social media platform. So we're gonna work on a safe social media platform. No, you're not. Shut up, Twitter. Shut up, Jack Dorsey. Many conversations on Twitter will devolve into screaming matches about politics as well. Then you got YouTube. One of my favorites, probably my favorite, and I will go ahead and say it is a social media platform, but it's run by Google. It's going to collect a whole heck of a lot of data about you. It will aggregate that with all your data from every other Google service out there that collects an exorbitant amount of data about you and create probably the most complete profile about you, who you are, what your preferences are. Do you secretly have a disease? Google knows about it. Do you have any deep, dark secrets? Google knows about it. And then every single comment section will devolve into people telling you to kill yourself or do some horrible stuff or tell you to get off the platform, you're wasting my time. There's no real safe social media platforms in terms of that kind of experience. It's gonna be everywhere because it's the internet and people have anonymity and people have a divide between themselves and you. As soon as they see you on the screen, they don't think, hey, that's Katie, hey, that's Bandrew. They think, oh, that's a picture on my screen. It's not a real person. Let's try to hurt it. They don't view you as a person when they're viewing your profile on the internet. If you were face to face, I guarantee you 99% of these people would be tolerable. But when they're behind their computer screen, they are nightmarish demons spawned from hell. They are the worst. So in that sense, I don't think there is a safest one. I do think that the best way to go about having a good experience on social media would be to create your own communities. And on that note, I think all of those social media platforms do have really good communities, but you do need to create and sort of help form decent communities and be a good community member if you want to see that. Now, if you do start your own, you can't be shy of kicking anybody out that goes against it and makes it a terrible environment. I've had to do that in my Discord server. People made it a bad experience. They were ruining it for other people. And I said, you know what? I want this to be a good experience. Bye-bye. You're gone. That's my take on it. There's no safe social media platforms. They will all collect ridiculous amounts of data about you. They will all manipulate you. They will all have people attacking you. But if you are able to create and get together with a group of people that have similar interests as you, and you can moderate it well, they all can be very useful. But as far as Facebook, nah, I ain't playing with that. I like Twitter a lot. Twitter and YouTube, those are my favorite. And then if you consider Discord a social media thing, I don't think it is. I would say Discord as well. But very good question, Katie. Hope that helps. Hope that put a little ting of paranoia in your brain. Next email comes from Alex. Hey, Bandrew, I'm running an unconventional setup. I'm using the live monitoring port from the Blue Yeti to plug it into a Yamaha AG03. Great product, by the way. This allows me to use compression and EQ and other live effects that come with the AG03. I don't have an XLR microphone or any other options. Here's exactly how I got it set up, and I want you to tell me if I'm doing anything wrong or if I can improve something. Kind of demanding there, aren't you? I want you to tell me. Why not? Can you please tell me? Can you please tell me? I think that'd be a nicer way to approach it. 1, I set up, sorry, I'm just going all over the place today. Step 1, I set up the Blue Yeti's audio monitoring level at max on the microphone front dial and on Windows through the playback tab. 2, I disable the microphone from Windows playback and recording tabs because I'm not going to the mixer. Even when I disable it, the mic still outputs the live monitoring signal at full volume, which is great. 3, I'm running an audio cable from the Blue Yeti's output into the ground loop isolator and from that to the mixer's mic port 1, where I have the pad option pressed and the 48 volts at the up position. Okay. 4, I have the mixer's mic volume slider set to max, the gain on the microphone set to the lowest, and I'm using the gain knob on the mixer to adjust the mic's level. I did something. I realized I did it completely wrong. Should I use the mic's gain knob or the mixer's gain knob, which will give me a better result? Am I damaging any part of my equipment in any way? Am I a crazy person? Yes. The results I'm getting seem to be fine, but I have no idea if I'm getting the optimal quality. I don't know if you have time to try this weird setup yourself. What do you think? I really enjoy the podcast. Watch every episode. Keep up the good work. Thanks. Alex, thank you very much. Interesting question and a more interesting setup. You need to focus on gain staging. I will say that. The way that I tested it, I plugged my Yeti in, I set the gain so it was at a good level, I wasn't clipping, and then I kept it plugged in, but I ran out of the headphone port into the, well, I'll just go to the clip. I talk about it there. Okay, so right now I have the Blue Yeti connected to my Windows 10 PC to get power. The microphone's gain on the actual microphone is set at 9 o'clock or around maybe 20 or 25%. I am running out of the headphone jack, a 1/4 inch or stereo 1/4 inch to a dual TRS 1/4 inch cables into the channels 2 and 3 of the AG03. No compression, no EQ on high gain with the fader volume almost at 100%. And this is how it sounds. Now I'm recording the Blue Yeti direct to the Windows 10 PC with the gain on the microphone the exact same at 9 o'clock on the cardioid polar pattern, and the microphone level in the microphone properties tab on the computer is set at 79%, and this is how it sounds. But going back to what I was saying before the clip, gain staging, you want to get the microphone to the level you ultimately want it at as early in the signal chain as possible. So if you can set the gain on the microphone at the optimal level, you'll be good. Otherwise, you have the gain low, so the signal and the noise floor are much more intertwined. Then you're boosting it with the headphone amp, then you're running it into your mixer and you're boosting it more. So you're getting even more issues with the noise floor of the Blue Yeti. So that's what gain staging is. But are you likely damaging any equipment? No, I don't see any reason why you would be. It looks like the phantom power would be off, so no issues there. Like I said, you are an absolute crazy person, but I think it's fine. I personally wouldn't be using this for anything, though. I think it's a very jerry-rigged setup. If it's all you have the ability to own and use, sure, go ahead and go with it. Make it work the best you can. But if I were you, I would try working on selling the Blue Yeti and getting a different XLR microphone that's specifically designed to be used as an XLR microphone. Hope that helps. Best of luck to you. Next email comes from Lord. Hey, Bandrew, it's nice to meet you. I've been watching your channel for about 3 years now, and I love all your videos, including your podcast. I want to start a podcast, and I already have a boom arm, pop filter, and Shure SM58. I was thinking of buying the Bandrew UMC22, but I don't know if it could handle it. Do you mind testing it out, and do you mind also doing a review of the software called Voicemeeter Banana? I am thinking about using it, but I just wanted to see if you could try and see if it really gives me good audio quality with Shure SM58 and Bandrew UMC22. Thank you, and keep doing what you're doing. Yes, I can test the SM58 with the UMC22. Here you go. Right now, the SM58's connected directly to the Bandrew UMC22. The gain is just shy of 100% connected directly to my Mac, and this is how the audio is sounding. So yes, it technically can drive it. You're going to be maxing out the preamps, though, introducing the preamp noise of the Bandrew, but yes, it can drive it. Now, as far as testing Voicemeter Banana or reviewing Voicemeter Banana, I don't plan on doing that anytime soon because I did use it in the past. I downloaded it to jump into a stream and run a stream with somebody else, and it was not intuitive for me at all. I hated it. I like the stuff on Mac. I think it is loopback audio, audio hijack, all this stuff from Rogue Amoeba is so intuitive and so useful, but then you jump over to Voicemeter Banana and it is a dang nightmare. I absolutely hated it. I don't plan on reviewing that anytime soon. Words are so hard today. Hey, I'm wearing that shirt. Anyways, I hope that helps. Yes, it can drive the SM58. You may be getting quite a bit of line noise or noise floor from the preamp because you'll be cranking it up. But there you have it. I'm going to end the show there. I appreciate everybody watching and listening. I hope you are welcome back. I hope you are welcome back to the regularly scheduled podcast format and all of that stuff. If you got any questions, askbandrew@gmail.com. Want to check out my other projects, bandrewscott.com. Want to find a right microphone for you? findtherightmic.com. Join the memberships on Podcastage. So many calls to action. I'm sorry, guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I appreciate each and every one of you. I'll talk to you next week. Bye.
This has been a Geeks Rising production, your executive producer of Bandrew Scott. For more information, head over to www.geeksrising.com.